So I have all of my products here. I've got my products that I've been using lately. So that includes my summer box products. And I also have a couple more that I have in my routine. So I'll talk about those. But I think if you've kept up with my posts, you kind of know where I've been at with my summer box routine and where I have inserted other products. But I'll talk about them briefly. So what I've been doing is actually kind of rotating some of the products in and out, and so using them every other day. Hi, Fawn. Nice to see you. So for me, I think one of the things that a lot of folks have noticed is that the redness in my cheeks has gone down quite a bit since my very first day, since my very first picture. Hi, Rochelle. And I think you can definitely see that today. My cheeks are not nearly as red. Even my nose is not nearly as red as they had been before. And I'm really excited about that. That's awesome, because that means that when I do decide to put on some makeup, I'm not going to have to do much color correction. But yeah, it's awesome. And I think that one of the things that has made a difference there has been when I started, I was like going ham on it and going in like every day with this at night. And as I was reading a little bit about my own particular type 1, subtype 1 rosacea, it's like, you know what, maybe I need to just chill a little bit on it, just because my skin is that much more sensitive because of the rosacea. So I decided to drop down to just every other day. I was sort of taking Cindy's lead, where she was doing this and this one evening, and then pairing on the nights when she wasn't doing the strawberry serum or the strawberry toner, she was doing the oatmeal and rice cleansing grains. So she had that little bit of more gentle exfoliation in there too. So I started doing that, and I think that was really helpful. Another thing that I think really helped with the redness, thank you so much, Rochelle. It means a lot. I'm so excited to see that. I added in camel milk cream, and thanks, Win, I'll see you later. I added in a little bit of camel milk cream. I just have a tester here, and I bought it, and I wasn't using it because I was like, this is too heavy for summer. But again, as I was doing a little bit more research and thinking more about skincare and thinking more about what I needed, I realized that, you know, my skin could use some. So I started using it on my cheeks in week 1. And in week 2, I actually started doing it all over my face. And I think I've seen a difference there for sure, because this is very, very calming. And it's also good for people who do have oily skin, as I have a little bit of oiliness in my T-zone. Yeah, so camel milk as my nighttime moisturizer all over the face. You know, you really don't need too much, I would say. You know, a nickel-sized amount is pretty much all you need. Has been great. So my morning routines have been very, very basic. Basically start with some bamboo cleanser, and then I follow that with a spritz of the cucumber and aloe mist. And as you can see, I'm running out, yo. Look at that. So I wonder what your opinion was on that, because I've been using it in place of an essence. So I've been using it twice a day after I cleanse, and I'm a lot of sleeping. So I'm sad, but I do really like this. It's just that I'm using it up really fast. So I follow that with, in the morning again, coconut serum, which is so great because it's so light. I put that on for sort of like that first step of hydration. Then I follow that with my homegirl marine serum. As you can see, I'm running low on that too. That's gonna need to be, yeah, we're gonna need to order some of that again. And finally, of course, I use my red wine press serum, which I forgot to bring in. Oh no. Well, anyway, I was using the red wine press serum after that. And much like Marissa said last night during her live, I have found that that is all I need in terms of moisturizer in the morning, so I can kind of skip a step. And I've been really liking that. So that's really cool. So that's my morning routine. Just cleanse, a spritz of the cucumber and aloe mist, and then serums, because I'm a serum fanatic, and seal it all up with the red wine press serum, and I'm good to go. Put on my SPF. In the evening, I have been adding more steps, of course, but like I mentioned, I've been alternating with the strawberry cocktail toner and the oatmeal and rice cleansing grains. So on the nights that I do the toner, I cleanse with the bamboo. And if I have worn makeup on that day, I'll actually start in the evening with a cleansing balm. And then I'll do the bamboo. And then I'll also do the peppermint water to finish. So it's like a triple cleanse. And I really like that because it feels refreshing. And when I wear makeup, I feel like, I need to really get it all off and in a gentle way. So doing those different kind of layers of stuff. So it's kind of like a triple cleanse with cleansing balm, then a foaming cleanser, and then with the peppermint water. And then I will do my toner if it's a toner night, strawberry toner. Spritz with the aloe mist, and then I will begin my serum routine, which is, of course, like I just mentioned, the coconut, the marine. And what I have added after Marissa suggested it, and I realized I had a whole big old thing of this, is the More Honey 2 serum. And I was usually saving this basically to put on, because of this propolis and royal jelly, I was saving it just to put on skin irritations, like not really having it as part of a routine, just having it on hand for if I would happen to have a cold and you get like a little raw around the nose, if you're blowing your nose a lot with being sick. And I love it for that. It really works. And any other kinds of skin irritations. But Marissa reminded me that honey-based products are good for healing acne, and they're very gentle. And I think that you might, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see, but along my jawline, I have some kind of it almost looks like a rash. I don't know if this is like type 2 rosacea or what it is. I'm assuming it's hormonal acne because I get it kind of like right here and then right here. It's not super noticeable, but it's bumpy. Like you can feel the texture and it gets a little bit red. So I've decided to start putting this on just on those areas and seeing how that goes. So I put that on after Marine, finish off with the red wine press serum, and put on, I have, after that I have a facial oil that's not Sabbatical Beauty, but it's rosehip seed oil. And I finish off with my anti-aging eye gel oil, which is great. And then camel milk to kind of settle everything down. So that's my nighttime routine. One thing I didn't mention was detox, and I didn't bring it in because it leaked a little bit, so it's sort of sitting still in my bathroom. But I really love the detox mask because it makes my face feel so incredibly good. When I put it on, and leave it on for 20 minutes, and then I take it off, and my face feels so incredibly clean and just like perfectly balanced afterwards. And I really like that feeling in the daytime. So I've been using it in the mornings. So what I've been doing with detox is doing my cleanse and then putting detox on, chilling out, having coffee, whatever, for 20, 25 minutes, rinsing that off, and then finishing up my morning routine. And it makes my skin feel so balanced. Like there's no oil creeps up anywhere. Like my skin feels like immaculate the entire day. Like no changes in how hydrated it is or how dehydrated it is, no change in oiliness or anything. Like detox is amazing, amazing mask. Rochelle says, I have great selfies with detox. Thank you. I try to bring a little bit of fun to the pictures that I take with the things that I do. But yeah, so that's been pretty much my routine. I've just been kind of adding things here and there, but I think as you can see, and a couple folks commented, thank you, definitely can see a difference in my rosacea kind of going down, and the redness really lessening quite a bit on my cheeks, so that's great. So you can see a little like pimple that cropped up here a few days ago. So at night I've been slapping a hydrocolloid patch on it. Basically those little CosRX pimple patches. I think someone mentioned them in the group the other day, and they're awesome. So yeah. So I've been sticking those on at night, and they really do help with like drawing out the pus and kind of making them kind of go down. So this one's on his way out. He's like packing his bags and he's about to hit the road. So yeah, so that's been what's going on with my face. I definitely have been enjoying using all of the products and experimenting with them a little bit and checking them out. Really enjoying having kind of a more of a motivation to do consistent skincare and consistent self-care now that I'm a box reviewer. Not that I wasn't before, because I definitely have been more consistent with those things, but just knowing that I have a responsibility kind of to be a box reviewer and you know, give everyone my thoughts on those things really made a big difference in how consistent I've been, and I can definitely see the difference in my face. So did anyone have any questions about my routine or anything, or anything I talked about? I think I talked pretty fast. And it's only about 9:15, so I'm gonna take a sip of my sparkling water here. Any questions or anything? Just bopping along. Phil, do you have questions about my routine?
Not currently.
My husband has no questions about my routine. Okay. Well then, let's do something sort of related, but sort of different. When I sat down here, and I'm in my home office as I've been doing all of these Facebook Lives, to my right is my tarot table. And I read tarot cards. I read them professionally, but I also read, you know, just kind of all the time. I'm looking for new ways to read. And so I decided that, well, I had that in my line of sight while I was getting ready. I would think about, what does tarot have to do with self-care, and is there any message that we can find in the tarot with self-care, skincare, anything like that? But before that, Dale asked, do you use the grains everywhere or in specific places? Dale, I actually use the grains all over, because putting them in my hand and then dripping a little bit of water in them, they turn into like a foam. And I find that to be very gentle, and I just use that kind of as a cleanser. So I don't use them in any specific places. I just kind of use them all over. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I found that to be fine. Rochelle's interested in the tarot, yeah. So I don't know if anybody else here is like woo or into tarot, but I started reading tarot when I was 14. I got a deck of cards as a gift, very randomly. I'm 38 now, so that would be going on 25 years of reading tarot cards and working with tarot cards. I work with them, you know, just as a spiritual tool, but I also write about them. I also, you know, I did an academic presentation about them and their relationship to hypertext at a conference recently. So they're both kind of a recreational and an academic interest of mine, creative interest of mine. I love tarot cards. So let's read some tarot cards. Let's talk about tarot cards. So I'm going to tell you about the deck I have. I have several decks, obviously. And the deck that I'm going to use today is the Holly Simple Tarot, which is an awesome hand-drawn tarot deck by the artist Holly Simple. And it's really cute, and it's also really grotesque. And I like that about it. And I wasn't sure if I was going to love it, but then I started using it reading with other people, and I found that it was really, really easy to read with and work with. Catherine asked, what deck do I use? It really depends. For what I read for myself, I have a number of different decks, and sometimes I go in stages where I'm like really into one deck or another. But right now, this is one of my favorites, the Holly Simple deck. It's really good. I have I also have the Wild Unknown Tarot sitting over here on my table right now. And that was what I've been using the last couple weeks for myself. And I like this deck, but I had a hard time connecting with it as quickly as I did with the Holly Simple deck. I don't know why that is, but I'm trying to get better connected with it, and I think it's working. I think it just, sometimes decks you need to work with them for a while to kind of get used to them. And believe me, I have some decks I tried working with and I knew I couldn't connect with them, but this one I think I can. It just takes a little bit of work. But this one I felt connected to right away. So, Holly Simple deck. So, I was thinking about, with these tarot cards, what kind of message I could give to everyone who's watching tonight, or what kinds of thoughts the tarot might have for all of us tonight about self-care going into the summer, because we're talking about our summer box. So I'm just going to pull 3 cards, and I was kind of making this up on the fly. I'm going to pull 3 cards, and I'm going to use them, I guess, to represent sort of 3 aspects of the self. So body, mind, and spirit. So, and that's a pretty easily understandable, straightforward kind of thing. So I'm going to shuffle these, and I'm going to put them into just 3 piles. I'm going to cut the deck into 3 piles, and one pile is going to represent the body, and one pile is going to represent the mind, and one pile is going to represent the spirit. And we're just going to see if the tarot has any messages for us about what would work for us for self-care for this summer. Rochelle asks, I don't know anything about tarot, so the different decks serve different purposes, or is it just preference? It's both. Some tarot decks are created to work with certain spiritual traditions. Like there are certain decks that are made specifically for people who are like Wiccan to work with. And some are, made with extra cards, or they have different names and conventions for the cards, or they're oracle decks, which are not the same as tarot decks. But for me, all the tarot decks I have are based on the original Rider Pack, which is kind of the structure of tarot that's the default. And that works for me. That's what I learned on. And it really just depends on how I connect with the way that the different cards are represented by the artist. For example, there was one deck that I have. It's the Vertigo Tarot, and it was illustrated by people who do the Vertigo comics, graphic novels. And you're thinking like, oh, that's so cool. And it is really cool. It looks great. It's an amazing piece of art, but I had such a hard time reading with them. I didn't connect with them at all, which stunk, but I thought to myself, like, well, then this is a cool collector's item that I have. I'm not going to read with this. This is just a cool thing to have. But my working decks, the ones that I feel like I can work with, the Holly Simple deck, I feel very good about working with. And it's just a personal preference. I mean, there are people I'm sure out there who are like, they read with the Vertigo Tarot all the time and they work with it. For me, it didn't work. So it's just personal preference. All right. So I'll shuffle one more time. And I'm going to cut my deck into 3 piles. You can't see them, but I'm setting them in the 3 piles in front of me. And I always cut my decks to the left because the left represents the unconscious mind. So. All right. Okay, so my first pile is the body pile. So the card that I'm pulling, that I have pulled for self-care for summer for our bodies, is the Emperor. And the Emperor is represented by the number 4. And in this deck, he's a little stag guy. And he's very much represents like an authoritarian feel to him. He's very much a father figure in the deck, but if you're not comfortable with that, you can sort of think about it as like a very dynamic, sometimes strict, but mostly sort of authoritative, structured energy. So looking at him and thinking about his position and what my intention was for pulling this card, I'm going to say that for self-care for our bodies for this summer, the tarot is telling us that we need to get into good habits and routines, because the Emperor is a card of structure. The energy is very structured. It can be strict, but I like to think of it more like it's strict to help you. So if you struggle with kind of getting into routines and you struggle with getting into good habits, the Emperor is here to sort of tell you to redouble your efforts there. So if you're trying to get into an exercise routine, or if you're trying to get into, if you're trying to do something or learn to do something new with your body, the Emperor is here to tell you to, follow directions and do it consistently and do it every single day. The Emperor is represented again by the number 4. He's got 4 legs, of course, and he's got the number 4 at the top. And the number 4 is a very, it's a structured number because things have 4 legs, animals have 4 legs, tables have 4 legs, and 4 represents a lot of stability. So I think he's sort of saying to us that we need a little bit of structure in our lives when it comes to taking care of our bodies. So however you'd like to interpret that, that's the message from this card for our bodies for the summer for self-care. All right. Okay, I'm going to move on to thinking about mind. What does mental self-care look like for us this summer according to the tarot? So I have here, and I pulled another 4. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So the card that I pulled for our mental mind self-care for the summer is the 4 of Wands. And the 4 of Wands is such an interesting card. I have pulled, this is now the second 4 I've pulled. I actually pulled a 4 for myself a couple of days ago, which is fascinating. 4s keep coming up. This is the 4 of Wands, and Wands in the deck represent thought. And they're also connected with the element of fire. When things are full of energy and they're in our, and honestly, the Wands represent the mind, so this is a good card to have. So I think in this position, with the intention that we have for it, this card is representing mental self-care in terms of putting our dynamic ideas into action. So for me, and probably for a lot of other folks, if you're an academic, summer is a time of kind of like stepping back a little bit from the bustle of the year, and a lot of people get their work done during the summer, and the summer is a time of a lot of energy for a lot of people. And I think that this card is kind of repeating a similar message to the Emperor and saying to us, like, okay, you have a lot of energy right now. This is sort of all the energy that you have kind of represented by this sunburst. Can you find a way to crystallize and structure that energy, that mental energy, so that you can get things done that you want to get done? So if you have projects that you want to get done, or, maybe you're doing something with writing, or maybe you're, trying to create something, I think that this particular card is saying, like, now is the time to really honor those ideas that you have and take some of the structure that you're good at doing and put it around those and bring those to life. Because otherwise that energy can really escape quickly, because it's a fiery energy. And, fire it burns very fast, but it can burn out quickly. So applying structure and applying sort of your ideas, applying something like structure and bringing your ideas to life and kind of crystallizing them, as these wands have kind of trapped this energy in the middle. Far from being sort of a trap, it's a way to sort of crystallize and make things come true. So that's the message, I think, for our mental self-care, is to honor our ideas by taking action on them and actually crystallizing them and making them into something. All right. Final card, only have a few more minutes. And the card that I have pulled for our spiritual self-care is Wands again, but it's the Two of Wands. Okay. So as you can see, we've got these wandy guys here, and they're kind of batting themselves together, and they are sort of directing, it looks like, energy out into this spirally thing. And that's kind of the picture that's on here. We've got two different hands holding them. Twos in the deck always kind of represent duality in a lot of ways and kind of a second step. But the Two of Wands, in the intention that we have for it with our spiritual development, is it's kind of tricky because that wandy energy is very fiery. And we always associate that with kind of mental stuff, but when we think about it in terms of the spiritual, it's kind of encourages us to go on like an adventure in a way. So kind of asking yourself, what is something adventurous that we can do for our spirit? And we think about the spirit of adventure, something that's exciting to us and something that is maybe something that makes us a little nervous, but in a good way. So what kind of thing makes you, it sort of excites your spirit, it sort of feeds your soul, excite your spirit, makes you feel renewed? What makes you feel like an adventure? What feels like a spiritual adventure to you? Maybe it's learning something new in your spiritual practice that you could put into it. Like I know a lot of people are like into like woo-woo stuff is real big again. When I was in junior high and high school, like woo-woo stuff was big, and then it kind of like died out. But like woo-woo stuff is big again. So maybe you want to learn about tarot, for instance, or maybe you want to start like a meditation practice that feels like adventurous to you, or maybe you want to do kind of like a little pilgrimage somewhere. Maybe something that feels spiritual and sacred to you is like going to a woodland area or like a natural area and kind of just like exploring for the day. Maybe it's about starting a yoga practice. Maybe it's about going to a new house of worship or exploring a new spiritual tradition. This card is telling you to go for it because our spirits are just like us. They can get bored. They can feel unexcited by the things that we're doing, and maybe we just continue things out of habit. And sometimes they need something new to grow. Sometimes they need adventure. Sometimes they need a journey. And so I think the message that's coming from this card during this season, this summer season that's coming up for us, is to practice a little bit of self-care by doing something adventurous for your spirit, whatever that may look like to you. And as I'm saying that, I'm thinking probably a lot of you kind of know what that is in your mind, but maybe you weren't sure. So the tarot card is here to show you kind of to just go for it, So that was my reading for everyone. I hope you liked it. So it's about 9:32, and I'm going to wrap this up. Does anyone have any other questions about anything? Products, routines, tarot, meaning of life, whatever is on your mind. Oh, thank you, Rochelle. It was just, it just kind of came up, and I thought that was fun. I love to read. It's great practice for me. It helps me to understand people. So, yeah. Cool. Alrighty. Well, if I didn't catch you here, you can catch me in the replay. I hope everyone has a great evening. And I think someone's coming on a little bit later to do another Facebook Live. Oh, yes, Rachel is coming on. Or no, Rachel's coming on tomorrow at 8. So she's next. But anyway, hope you guys have a great night and see you later. Bye.